Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu atiyu Allah wa atiyu Rasul wal ulul amri minkum. Fa in tanaza'tum fi shay'in farudduhu ila Allah wa rasulihi. In kuntum tu'minuna billah wal yawmil akhir. Dhalika khairun wa ahsanu ta'wila. O you who believe, obey Allah and obey the Prophet and those placed in authority amongst you. And if you dispute about anything, then turn it to Allah and His Prophet, if you believe in Allah and the last day. This is better for you and the best understanding. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, we want to again thank all of the brothers and sisters who put forth the effort, spending their money in the way of Allah, spending their time in the way of Allah, supporting people, being patient with maybe relatives who had to be away from home to help us hold this important majalis for Imam Hussain. Please give a loud salawat. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now we also want to thank and congratulate all of the young people, those who read some Quran for us, also all of the young brothers and sisters who have been working very hard, memorizing Quran, going to the Muslim schools, and trying to build their foundations so that they will have, inshallah, a beautiful adulthood in the service of Imam Zaman, Ajalallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. Please give us salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So we're continuing along this hadith from Fatima Zahra, which is the hadith which is her part of her khutbah of Fadak. And now she says the following in that khutbah: wa ta'atuna, and our obedience, nazaman lil millah, and obeying us is to organize the community. It's very interesting. We had, this was, I want to say 2-3 months ago, and there was a sister who was a revert, meaning she became Muslim from Christianity or something. And she had a girl with a young daughter who's about 9 years old who also reverted with her. We were having a discussion about wilayat, and we were going around like asking everybody, what's the benefit of wilayat? And the little girl said this line, in English obviously. And then I was like, really, congratulations, you gave the same answer as Fatima, that the obedience is for the Imam is to organize the community. So that's what I was saying, that a lot of times that the children, their aql and things like that is still pure. They don't have these vested interests and positions and money and stuff like that. But one of the things I always remind the young women and the young men that I teach is look at the examples of the Ahlul Bayt, that they were working hard on their religion even when they're young. Sometimes people have the idea that, oh, I'm just a child, so let me take it easy, and then I'll be good later. Yeah, yes, you do have a built-in excuse because maybe you don't know. But sometimes you do know. And you need to put forth that effort and try to be a good person and try to build up those good habits now while you guys are still young. It's easy to build the habit when you're young. It's easy to learn Quran when you're young. Your memory is good. You can learn hadith. You can do a lot of things now that you are young. Put that as your effort. Put that as what you're going to do with your life. And I know some of the guys, they're saying, oh, well, you know what, I'm old, I have a gray beard. No, you're still young. You're not as old as Hazrat Nuh. So you have still, and also when we think about the mission of these imams and things like that, a lot of times you would see that their mission didn't start until their 70s or 60s or something like that. So the people who are young at heart also, don't say that, no, I'm old and so I'm just going to put it on easy mode. Always start that jihad when you're young and keep that enthusiasm until you're old. But don't decide that I'm going to wait until I get old and do my bad stuff and then try to come back. It's a lot easier to keep a car out of a ditch than to get it in the ditch and then try to dig it back out. So just very important for us that, start that commitment down. Don't decide that you don't know. A lot of the things you do know. A lot of the things you do know. A lot of Allah has blessed us, especially if you're from a Muslim family, from a Shia family, your parents are trying to give you good advices. Practice what you know. So Fatima is saying that the reason that the Muslims are being asked to obey the Imam is to organize the community. Usually there's more than this. Whenever we look into this, we peel back some of the layers of the onion, we see that there's a lot more in this. But now, when we were talking about this idea of imamat and wilayat before, we see that this is, if you notice, this after Tawheed, this is the first order. Before we get to Salat and Zakat and Khums and everything, because how do we know this? That when Allah created Adam and the angels, He didn't have some sort of extensive fiqh. He didn't first, let's teach Adam how to make Hajj, and then we're going to teach him how to, make Salat, and then how when he, collects his berries to give one khums for. He didn't do all of this type of things. Very basic. Tawheed, Imamat. We have to have an organization. And it's very interesting. We also, as human beings, we do the same thing. Before we get to the rules and what to do and everything like that, even if, let's say that, if by chance, sometimes it happens, I remember it happened with us, that my father had to, I think he forgot his keys. Actually, he lost them. We went to the beach and he lost the keys. So he had to go walk back to the house, which was miles away and the kids couldn't handle it, get the keys and then come back. So he had to get the second set, walk 5-10 miles from one of the other brothers, gets the car right and come back and collect his keys. Collect the kids. But before he says what to do, he says, all right, I'm leaving your mother in charge. And then he tells his oldest son, who is my brother Sheikh Faheem, he's like, okay, and you back up your mother. Then he gives us instructions, okay, drink water and do this and do this and do this while you're going to be stuck here for a few hours. But before you get to this is just your instinct as a human being, before you get to the details, first you tell the people who's in charge. Some of you maybe own businesses or ran schools or something like that. You're going to be gone for a little while. You say such and such is going to be running things while I'm not here. If you have any questions, go to him. Then you say, and my instructions are, you keep doing this. I want you to, sell 50 of these, washing machines and 38 of those dryers or whatever it is that you do for a living. First you organize the order. You organize the system that we're going to do. Then you go to the details. And if somebody were to have obeyed your orders in other things, but they didn't listen to the wali that you had put over them, you would say, no, you might get fired. So if I said that, yes, okay, I'm going to put brother Fulan in charge. I'm not going to be here for a while. He's going to be in charge of that. And then I want you to, call the adhan when, at this time. And I want you to, we're going to, after Maghrib, we're going to make a dua and then we're going to do Isha, or something like that. Then I come back. I'm like, where's, Brother Hisham? What happened? No, we kicked him out. We didn't like him. Like, why did you kick him out? But yeah, but we did, after Maghrib, between the Maghribain, just like you said, we read, dua such and such. Like, you kicked out the brother I put in charge. Like, the idea that you could recover from that by merely obeying the rest of my commands, like, no, you disobeyed the major commands. Because I had put him in charge. Maybe he was going to change something. Maybe I said that, maybe I was going to tell him that, hey, I want you to do this at this time, but if such and such happens, do a different order. But I don't have time to explain that to everybody. I'd be like, he's in charge. And then you go and you do what you want to do. The whole thing can break down. Once you have that breakdown in like law and order, then you like everything else, like anarchy breaks loose. Even if it's still anarchy, even if you actually did the right thing. So you can do the right thing and it's still anarchy. Why? Because there's no organization to it. You're stumbling into the right thing. It's very interesting. One time we wanted to run an experiment, and we had two groups of students. We said that you're going to follow this, one of the groups, we're going to follow the wilayati system, and one of the groups is going to follow the taghuti system. So what's the taghuti system? We said that you can do whatever, however you decide on your leader, that's your leader. And you obey your leader even if he beats you. Give them the same, their same thing. And so I said that first you're going to have a shura, but if anybody wants to break the shura, you have arm wrestling. And then if you win the arm wrestling, then that guy's the leader. So of course, that's what they did. The thing broke down halfway through. But what was interesting was that they were pretty fast at first. But what happened was, as time went on, the fact that there was infighting and divisions and, jealousy and, they were, and also I let them give the wilayati people, they couldn't give punishments. But the other people could. So if one of the boys got out of line, they would force him to do push-ups and things like that, because they were just running a tyrannical system. But the wilayati system, because it was organized, it was a little bit slow, because the wali, he couldn't use force. He would have to ask and advise and, but he also could get instructions. So when they had a question, I told the taghuti, I was like, yeah, you can't ask for any more instructions. You're on your own, because you don't have imam. Your connection to Allah is now gone. You're just doing what you want to do. Like I gave you general instructions and you have to do tafsir. You have Quran and, inshallah, you figure it out. But the other one could ask questions. So they said, hey, how are we supposed to do this? I would give them the instructions. How are we supposed to do this? I would give them the instructions. But because it was willing, so they couldn't force the other people who were not cooperating to cooperate. You had to convince them. So you said, yeah, it's wajib to obey the wali. But the wali isn't going to just go around murdering you and killing you and doing this, that, and the other to you if you disobey. So the initial task, the taghuti system was able to do, because it was like, khawf and zulm and everything if you didn't do it. But as time went on, you started to see the cracks starting to show. Some of the people would just be sitting there doing nothing, because they would get kicked out or something like that, or they would get punished and stuff, and then they broke down rather quickly. Whereas the other one, no, it was steady. So this is one of the things that we have when we have this system of trying to get wilayat, that we have this order. Now, it's very important that sometimes people, they say, well, the Shias, you have just Hadith Ghadir. And if you read the rest of Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, you see that the rest of it is going to direct you towards following the companions. That's one of the ishkal that they raised for us. You're cherry picking hadith. So first of all, we're not cherry picking hadith. We have our own hadith. We're saying your hadith, back our haditha. We didn't say that everything in Sahih Muslim is false, and we also didn't say everything in Sahih Muslim is true. We said some of it's true and some of it's false. And this is from you said all of it's true. And if you say all of it's true, this is one of the true things in there. So then we're saying that let's go for a second with this ayah which I read. That, oh, you who believe, obey Allah and obey the Prophet and those placed in authority amongst you. Okay? Who places someone in authority? Does this ayah say? How does someone get to be an authority? Because Allah already is. Then Allah places the Prophet. Then the ulul amr is how? If we're going to go with the Quran, and this is important, there should be dalil. There should be proof. Sometimes they'll be like, how come the name of Amir al-Mu'mineen, there's no ayah which is sarih and direct that he is the Imam after the Prophet? They say, you Shias, you always find something like, and those who give while they're bowing down, and you bring this tafsir and that tafsir, and you do this and you do that. How come there's not a direct ayat which just says his name? Okay. That's your statement. Okay, well, where's the direct ayat saying that it's Abu Bakr or Umar? There should be like if you're saying this is our ishkal and this is our condition for you, then you should have the same thing. You should say, well, this we have X ayat which says him, mentions him by name, and you don't have. Right? So they don't have. Okay, you say, no, we'll lower the bar. We don't have and you don't have. What's one that says how to pick the ulul amr, which is sari? Because Allah mentions it, so it must have been ma'loom. It must have been known to the people. Where's the verse of Quran? There should be one. Where's the hadith? There should be their version of, you guys say that it's hadith ghadir, and you say it's mutawatir, but we also have mutawatir hadith that the Prophet said that after I pass away, there shall be a shura, and in that shura shall be, I don't know how, he should tell us how to form a shura, he should tell us how to make salat, but he doesn't tell us how to make a shura. And also we saw, when just in our experiment, our mental experiment, we say that if the sheikh was going to leave, the sheikh would not say, before he gives, we're going to pray Maghrib and we're going to do this and we're going to have this many programs and we're going to do this, that, and the other. First he's going to say, I'm going to put such and such brother in charge. Or I'm going to have these 5 brothers, they're going to decide and they're going to be like a council. He would give you some kind of indication of what. He's not just going to just up and gone. You come there, where's the sheikh? I don't know. His car's out front, but he's not here. We wouldn't do that. If he did, and then you were like, what? Where were you for the last week? Oh, yeah, no. He would be like, this person's completely irresponsible. If somebody did that, even, I remember I guess we sometimes had not the best of friends. So we would have some people who would join Islam, but they would have some of the bits of Jahiliyyah still in them. And they would have maybe a fight with their wife or something like that. You come to the house, the guy's gone. You ask the wife where he is, she doesn't know. You ask the kids where he is, he doesn't know. Nobody knows where the guy is. The guy's gone for 2 months and then turns up again. Like, this isn't proper akhlaq. You just disappear. You don't leave instructions. You don't leave money. You don't leave. It's like people don't want to talk to you after that. You lose friends. Your wife will leave you. You're like, if you just abandon the people, you don't give clear instructions. Say, no, I did say I was leaving. Yeah, but were you going for milk or were you going for a vacation for 2 weeks? So, meaning like if a person did it with a family, all of us would have a problem. That would be like, if we decided to somehow keep the marriage, we would pull the guy in and have marriage counseling and be like, look, brother, if you're going to do that again, look, leave some people a phone number at least to contact you. XYZ. How is it not sahih to leave 1 woman and 3 kids? That would be unacceptable behavior. We would say, if you went and abandoned them and you did not give clear instructions on what they were supposed to do and how to contact you and what the next steps were, we would say that as the term we use is qabih aqlan, that it's bad to the mind. We don't accept it for a person. It's like when we say that when these people try to make the claim that some of the prophets did sins, we're like, it's qabih aqlan. That if this person is doing sins, then he's trying to invite us to the truth and Allah's ordering us to obey him. Then when he does a sin, are we supposed to obey him or disobey him when he's doing that sin? How does that make sense? Allah says, hey, this is my guy. Obey him in whatever he does. And then he goes over and runs off and starts stealing things. So now are we supposed to stop him or obey him? It makes a paradox. It's like it shows that this isn't work. Now, they need to bring their proof for how do you choose the ulul amr. And it should be clear. It should be, as they say, sarih. It should be direct ayah or direct hadith. Not that we can kind of pick apart the meaning of one hadith. Well, one time the Prophet did ask the people to do 1 shura. Does that give him this type of authority? And then also when we went back to our other example, that of the imam that if we give the guy the blank check, we say, hey, write in here whatever you want. Now, if the imam or the ulul amr commits a sin, are we supposed to obey him or not obey him? And why are you giving a blank check to a person who's going to commit a sin? It actually goes to the second point, that now he has to be ma'soom. Because it's like, and then Allah makes it even more clear when you read the rest of the ayah, that if you dispute about anything, then you refer it to him. So he says it's a sin, you say it's not a sin. It's not like they say that, oh, you just give him advice. No, if he says it's a sin and you say it's not a sin, then you obey him. If you dispute in anything, meaning there's confusion, I don't know what the thing is, I don't know what the right answer is, in tanaza'tum fi shay'in, then you go to the ulul amr and you follow that person. So then it's like, now you're saying that the ulul amr is, now if you can just sort of draw out and infer that the ulul amr is supposed to be not more knowledgeable than the people, less sinful than the people, and have certain characteristics more and greater than the people, that they will be less likely to be misguided should they follow him. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, give salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, when we always say that this hadith qadir, that when we pay attention to it, there's another ayah in Quran, which it also, that the thing is that the hadith in the Quran, they're interlocking. You have the hadith, and it connects to the ayats of Quran. So there's a hadith in verse in Surah Ahzab, that the Prophet says, "An-Nabi awla bil mu'minin min anfusihim." It's very interesting. Hadith al-Ghadir, what's the first line that the Prophet says? Alastu awla bikum min anfusikum. He's using the exact same verbiage that's in the verse of the Quran. And this hadith is in their books and in our books. Sometimes with more detail. Sometimes I find sometimes that the Sunni hadith, the Sunni version sometimes has more details than ours. I've seen that sometimes. Then it says, wa azwajuhum ummahatuhum, and his wives are as their mother. Wal ulil arham ba'duhum awla bi ba'din fi kitabillah. And the people with blood relations are higher than the other people. So he's now if you notice, Allah is now making aqsam in the people he's addressing. So you have the Nabi, then you have his azwaj. So they're not the same thing. Then he says the ulul arham. So ulul arham is not the azwaj. So that's how sometimes they try to say, well, they're part of the Ahlul Bayt. No, yeah, in the sort of the sense, but this is not the meaning that Allah is trying to get to. Because in the sense, if you just take it without sometimes something has a specific meaning. Like salat can mean dua, or we can say salat. No, we're talking about salat, the daily prayers. We're talking about the daily prayers. Now, this is a specific meaning of a specific action. It's not that this is just the meaning in general. So it says, well, ulul arham. Oh yeah, so to finish that thought. So in one sense, they say the azwaj sometimes are considered as part of the family. Like Usama bin Zayd. In just the general sense, that would be Ahlul Bayt in the sense of he's part of that household, that's the family. However, in the meaning that we're wanting, no, it's specific individuals, and Allah kind of makes it clear that they have blood relations. Not just that they have. So these people that we're looking, it's not just, it's extrapolating his wives. And then in the hadith, which I'm going to mention a little bit, Zayd bin Arqam, he says why. Then it says that these are higher than the others in the book of Allah, min al-mu'minin wal-muhajirin. So mu'minin, when it says mu'minin and muhajirin, what is it talking about? Why does it give it two different names? What's the difference? Mu'mineen is talking about the Ansar in this case. Muhajirin is talking about the Quraysh. Because if you could have just said Mu'mineen, sometimes Mu'mineen just means all of the Muslims. But here in this case, because it's making two divisions, it's talking about Mu'mineen, this is the Ansar, and the Quraysh. Meaning these are the two groups of people who are going to try to dispute over the Khilafat. Actually, it was three, because some of the Azwaj, and it showed later on we got to Jamal and stuff like that, some of the Azwaj actually tried to make a claim. So these are the three groups of people which all made a shot at claimants. The Muhajirin, the Ansar, and the Azwaj, and then Allah specifies that the Ulul Arham have more right. So when they're going to have that, then this is in the book of Allah. And it says, Allah an taf'alu ila awliya'akum ma'rufa. And will you not do with the people who are over you goodness? It's very interesting how these things go together. And then Allah insists on it again. First it says, the first one was fi kitab katab Allah, and then it says kana dhalika fi kitabin mastura. And this is written in the book. I mean, there's no sort of arguments or something like that. When we get to the hadith of Zayd ibn Arqam, that he says that the Prophet, because remember, hadith Thaqalain and hadith Ghadir are one hadith. It's just part of one long khutbah. So because in his hadith, he says, we came and we stopped at Ghadir, and then he mentions, instead of mentioning that faman kuntu maula, he mentions the other part of it, which is, he says, the inni tarakum fikum thaqalain. Awwaluhuma kitabullah fihi hudan wa nur. And then some of them he mentions, some of the same, even in the Sunni books, you keep flipping down, it'll mention different descriptions of the Quran and additional talk about the importance of the Quran. Wastamsiku bihi, and hold fast to it. Faqala wa ahlul bayti, and my family, meaning this is the part of the Thaqalain. And then he says, Adhkurukum Allah fi ahlul bayti, and he repeats it 3 times. Some of the versions is ittaqullah fi dami, like be aware of Allah with my family, or be aware of Allah with my blood. That's even more direct. There's all these different versions. This is when we sometimes have that a hadith is mutawatir. We were talking about mutawatir ma'nan, that maybe there's different versions of it, but there's so many and they're all coming to the same conclusion, that he mentioned his Ahlul Bayt and then he didn't leave it at that. He was like, be careful of it. I'm reminding you of my family. I'm reminding you of my family. I'm reminding you of my family. He didn't just let it go. Oh yeah, they're good people though. I'm reminding you of my family, because he knew that he knew what they would do to his family afterwards. He wanted to make it very specific. And then Zayd, when they asked Zayd, well, isn't that the family, the wife of the Prophet? And Zayd said, no, it's not the wives of the Prophet. They said, because if a man divorces his wife, that person returns to her family. So this connection, this wilayat, this has to go towards someone who that connection cannot be broken. That it's not just something that you say that, yes, this is my family, and then after that, then he's not my family. We get into a fight and I send her home to her family. So showing that really this marriage tie is organizational tie, but it's not a permanent condition. Please give us salawat. So what's also important is that when we take these hadith with other ayats, which is like asking for love of the family, and this one is called, if you think about it, it's behave well with them, ma'ruf. Another one is, the ayat of tathir, that Allah has purified them. Another one is لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا مودة في القربى. Now, one of the things I had asked this to my teacher. He is kind of like a linguist in Arabic. So obviously all of my teachers could speak Arabic, but and I said, what's the difference between hope, which is love, and mawadda? Because they say, well, we love the Ahlul Bayt. We have hope for the Ahlul Bayt. Then we're just like the Shia. But the Shias take it too far, but we have love as well. He said, mawadda is a little bit different. I said, how is it a little bit different? What's the difference between mawadda and... He pointed me to an ayat of Quran. That min ayatihi an khalaqa lakum min anfusikum azwajan. Litaskunu ilayha. So you have wives that from his signs is that Allah created for you mates. So you have a husband and you have a wife. That you live in peace with them. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And Allah put the mawadda and the rahmah between you. Which is interesting. Right? So this is something that Allah places. But in another ayat of Quran, it says, فَإِن كَرِهْتُمُوهُنَّ فَأَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَيَجْعَلَ اللَّهُ فِيهِ خَيْرٌ كَثِيرٌ. Which also this is very interesting. Use this. Perhaps you dislike something which has a lot of benefit. Is also used in talking about jihad too. But it says that if you hated them, then perhaps you hate a thing which Allah has put a lot of good in it. So now it's showing that this love is something different than mawadda, because if it's ja'ali, if Allah places it there, then it's not something you can remove. But hatred and love, you can. This is more like allegiance in English. Meaning, if you see these, sometimes these husband and wife have a fight, right? The wife gets mad and calls the police for the husband. The police come and they try to arrest the husband, and then the wife attacks them. They say that we hate getting involved with family disputes because there's this allegiance between the two of them, that if we try to get the wife, the husband will go after us. And if we try to get the husband, the wife will go after us. But if you ask them at the time, they're like, yeah, I hate this woman. And she's like, I hate that man. So even though they're angry with each other, if somehow something were to happen from one to the other, the next one would jump in to protect it. So Allah put as part of our fitrat is that we have, like men, they have like the desire to physically protect their wife. They can be angry and this, that, and the other. And you're like, no one would say, you let him be angry with his wife. We don't come and pile on because he's going to get mad at me. You're like, yeah, inshallah, you guys work it out and stuff. You don't jump in and throw your 2 cents. Yeah, she did this, so let me throw some fuel in the fire. Because you know that this person, there's a allegiance there. So this is similar to the mawadda is more like bay'ah or something. It's that you have loyalty to them. Which is also powerful because maybe perhaps some person might actually have some sort of dislike for an imam for one reason or another. Like let's say that some of these Arabs, Amir al-Mu'mineen had killed their relatives. And in their culture, they should take revenge. So maybe they have some sort of haraj or something with looking at it. But if you have loyalty, you're like, no, I'm going to defend the truth no matter what. It's funny though, when the people did that, then Allah also removed the hatred. So we had like the sister of Amr ibn Abd al-Wud, when Amir al-Mu'mineen killed him. Then she was like, I'm happy because if anybody except him, if Amir al-Mu'mineen had killed him, I would have been upset forever. But because it's Amir al-Mu'mineen, I can't say anything. Please give a salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So now this position of being a wali and this position of protecting wilayat also filters down to us. that one of the important things that we are going to get from this is the importance of protecting the representatives of the Imam. The reason this is important is because it's easy to say that you... Can brother help me? Put it on there. Shukran. Ahsad. Shukran. So the reason it's important to protect the representatives of the Imam is because sometimes the Imam is not always available, right? And so it's easy for a person who is far to say that he loves the Imam. You ask any Shia, do you love Amir al-Mu'minin? Yes, I love Amir al-Mu'minin. Is it really possible that none of them are munafiq? Because it says that that no one will love you except a believer, and no one will hate you except a munafiq. So Imam Ali says that even if I hit a believer in the nose with my sword, he would not hate me. And even if I put gold in front of the munafiq, he would not love me. Right? But we see so many of the Shias are munafiqs. Right? Whenever they do like an attack on, when they do the attack on Lebanon or they do an attack on Iran, they get some munafiq Shias and they open the doors for them and try to help them. Right? So some of them are munafiq. If you ask him, he says, oh yeah, I love the Imam. Why? Why can he say that? Because the Imam's not there. So it's theoretical. You could have, if Adam isn't there, Shaitan can say, yeah, I love the representative of Allah. When he's there in front of him, no, he doesn't accept. So Allah, when he puts a wali for you, usually you get sort of, I'd say it's like training wheels wali. So first you get some sort, because the Imam used to, sometimes he would send Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, or he would send Malik Ashtar, or he would send different people. Did those people have the right to disobey that person? So no, Salman al-Farsi is in charge of this city. We're like, oh, you're not Imam Ali, I'm not going to listen. Whenever Imam Ali comes, we wouldn't be able to get anything done. He says, this person is in charge, no, I'm not going to listen. Now we have to micromanage everything. I want you to sweep the floor. This brother's in charge of the masjid. He's going to have you guys sweep. And, mashallah, I'm going to go to the next masjid and figure out what's going on. As soon as the Imam leaves, no. Brother Fulan, I'm not going to listen to Brother Ali. Why not? He's not Masoom. He said, put me in charge to sweep the masjid so we can go home. No. I don't like Brother Ali. I don't know what he's saying. I mean, as soon as you try to put the rationality towards it, you could see that this is like it falls apart immediately. Like, now he has to be Masoom and he has to be. No, but also the Imam does not give these Nawab the same authority in that sense, but at the same time you still have to obey them in that sense. So they don't have wahi from Allah, but he's going to put the person who is best suited for the job in that place. Usually people they turn around, so we say that the ulama are the representing the Imam. What if they're bad? They always do that. What if they're good? Why they never ask that question? Well, I heard there was this one time where there was this one sheikh, and that sheikh, mashallah, he was bad. Even if you think about it, on the family level, we have the verse which is putting the father in charge of the household. The first thing is, what if he's bad? Well, maybe you shouldn't marry someone who's bad. If you know he's bad, don't marry him. Let's start there. Instead of, I'm going to marry somebody bad and then disobey him. Let's try to organize it this way. And there's a way out. If he's bad, then you go to the next authority up over his head, go to his father, go to some sort of sheikh, and they can get you out of the situation. So Allah doesn't lock you in a cage and leave you no way out. And the only way out is to disobey the very command that Allah gave you. So he says, obey him. No, I'm not going to obey, because what if he's bad? Then how can we get anything done? Because what if it was a lawful command and you disobeyed that? So in the absence of the Imam is going to choose a person who is going to be similar to him. The most similar as he can get. So when Prophet Muhammad put Jafar Tayyar in charge of the Muslims in Habasha, Jafar Tayyar is not Ma'soom. So his degree of error is going to be higher than someone else. He's going to make some mistakes just because it's not a masoom person. Maybe they'll be tiny, you know. Maybe it's only going to be tarka awla. But if his tarka awla is the same as Amir al-Mu'mineen, then why is Amir al-Mu'mineen Amir al-Mu'mineen? So he's going to make more tarka awla. Even if we say he's not going to commit a sin or not willingly or openly commit a sin, he might make a judgment call. I don't have time to get back to the Prophet. This is a small issue. I know my fiqh. And then he's going to make some sort of command, which is jaiz. It's in the realm of allowable things. And then if we get to our Imam Mahdi, Ajallahu Ta'ala Farajah Sharif, and he says that I'm putting the ulama in charge. If the first thing out of your mouth is, what if they're bad, then you don't trust the Imam. Like if that's the first thought that comes to your mind, what if they're bad? Wait a minute, what if they're good? And then obviously the Imam has, when you read the hadith, he has certain specifications for how to not pick a bad alim to be in charge. The same like with my example of the husband and wife. So they're staying away from the world, they're obedient to the Imam, they're knowledgeable about the affairs. But then once you've confirmed all of that, then you don't be like, what if they're bad? So we've confirmed that the alim is good. We've confirmed that he's doing the right thing. We've confirmed that he's struggling in the right way. We see the enemies of Islam hate him. And then you're like, yeah, what if he's bad? That, like, you can see there's a mental breakdown there, that the person is not following logic. And this was going to my example that I had said the other day, which is that if the fusaq and the munafiqeen and the mujrimeen and the ada Allah are all united that this person is bad, then the chance that this person's actually, like, that they all don't like him, then what? They're going to be on haqq, that we're going to go over and be like all of these war criminals and murderers and this, that, or the other. They're somehow on haqq, and then the mu'mineen all got it wrong. And they're all sheep, you know, who don't use their aql, and actually Netanyahu la'anahullah is right. I mean, it shows that you're having another problem. Now, this is where no one shall hate me except the munafiq comes in. If the munafiqs hate somebody, and the fusaq hate somebody, and the enemies of Allah hate someone, and you hate them, then you're one of those three. You're one of those three. As they say, like one of my Iranis used to say, was it that like a baz with the baz, like an eagle flies with the eagles, the crow flies with the crows, the wolf goes with the wolf. So you're going to be one of them. So if there's ijma of the munafiqeen, that this person they don't like him, they all hate him. There's ijma that these fusaq, they all hate him. There's ijma amongst the tawhuts, they hate him, and then you're with them. Yeah, you actually hate the imam. You're just disguising your hatred for the imam with your hatred for the representative of the imam. The people who hated Amir al-Mu'mineen actually hated the Prophet, but they couldn't say it directly. So they have one that they can reach. It was easier to hate Amir al-Mu'mineen, and you had the excuse. The excuse was, oh, well, he killed my relative. No, you didn't hate him because he killed your relative. You hate him because he was the imam. That was their hatred. And the people who loved him even though he had killed their relatives. So this is where it is, that this loyalty and this love and this allegiance, that it should show itself with your love of the system of wilayat. And your love of the system of wilayat is actually because you love Allah. So you want there to be a person who says what's halal and haram. If you love Allah and you love Allah's rules, you're happy that there's a person who's saying that. You're happy that there's an authority. You're happy that there's someone who can give nizam for the millah. And that's why I say it's a training wheels imam. If you're able to, I'm able to ride my bike with my training wheels, then I can take the training wheels off. But if I'm struggling with the training wheels, then how can I handle the real thing? If you can't listen to Jafar Tayyar when he's there, when Jafar Tayyar is here, I just have a problem with him. Don't like that guy. The Prophet, I'm fine, but Jafar Tayyar, I'm not. Because that's what they said. They used to know the munafiqs by their hatred of Amir al-Mu'mineen. It wasn't Amir al-Mu'mineen, his personality, him as a person. Why? He had great personality. He was always friendly, always nice. So it couldn't have been that. No, it was his position as being representing the Prophet, but he was in a weaker position. He didn't have the actual authority at the time when they were talking amongst the Sahaba. He didn't have a maqam that was clear like that. They hated the Prophet and they couldn't say it. So then they would hate what was Amir al-Mu'mineen doing? He was carrying out the orders of the Prophet. So if you hate the orders to be carried out, that means you hate the person who gave the orders. Because Amir al-Mu'mineen was like the soldier in the front line. Dig a hole? Yes, sir. Plant a tree? Yes, sir. Anything the Prophet would say, he would say, yes. And so then they hated that. Well, they hated the Prophet and they hated Allah, but they couldn't say it, so they would just be like, oh, well, I hate it. I just don't like that guy. I have a problem. And if it was Ja'far al-Tayyar, they would have hated him too. It doesn't matter. You could switch one out. If it was Malik Ashtar, they would also have hated him. When it was Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, he was representing the Imam. Oh yeah, they burnt him alive. You see that, like, they used that as a punching bag or a representative, because they can't come out straight and just say that I'm a bad person. So their backup plan is that I hate his representative. And when you see people who they hate the ulama, oh yeah, they're all bad, but I love Amir al-Mu'min. No, you don't like Amir al-Mu'mineen either. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. You don't like Amir al-Mu'mineen either. He said that follow these people, and you didn't say, look, some are bad. I go and I do my research and I follow and I see, I listen and I pay attention. Is he saying what he's saying is on the khat of the Ahlul Bayt, and then I follow him? No, they hate them. Then what I also found interesting was amongst the people, the same people who hated the ulama who are on the khat of the Ahlul Bayt, these ulama who are like doing damaging things, somehow they would always like these people. So the ones who are like cursing the khulafa openly and causing fitna with the Muslims, the same people who didn't like the ulama who are organizing the community, bringing us forward and stuff, would somehow like these fitnagar ulama. No, you just like fitna. Like, that's their real issue. You like trouble, you like fitna, you like problems. And so this is what brings us to the story of Hazrat Muslim ibn Aqil. It's very interesting. I was just thinking about this today. This is the only one of the companions that they give like a long story, the whole story of how he ended up being shaheed. Because it's an important lesson for us. Most of us are not going to end up being in direct contact with the Imam, but we are going to be in direct contact with the Muslim ibn Aqils, which is the representatives of the Imam. And how do we behave with them? So Imam Hussain, after he started getting all of the letters from Kufa, and also the rest of the Muslim world, that they said, we do not like Yazid, he's chosen wrongly, we're not going to accept him, we're not going to give him our bay'ah, you come to our city and we will support you. So Yemen was sending letters, and this place was sending letters, and that place was sending letters. And the biggest place with the biggest army and the most capabilities was Kufa. And they had a history with the Imam. They knew him because he had lived there before with the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So big, powerful tribes were there in Kufa that could support him. Also showing the wisdom of the Imam, he didn't do something like, if you're just trying to get power, he could go to Yemen, it's high in the mountains, and you just make yourself a little Shia enclave over there. It would be very hard for Muawiyah to project power from Syria into Yemen. A warlike population, inhospitable terrain, and then you could make a little Shia enclave, but it would cause fitna. Then Yazid would have spent all his energy fighting in Yemen, and then it would open up the rest of the territories to get reconquered by the Persians were still around at this time. They were pushed back, but they still could reconstitute. Azerbaijan and these like Dagestanis and stuff, those guys were warlike people. The Romans were still there. These different African tribes were still there. So if he went and just did some fitnegari thing like that, it would have caused problems. So he went to Kufa, but he didn't just charge there. First, he went and asked advice of some of his, some of the shakhsiyat, the Abdullah ibn Abbas and stuff. And all of them were like, no, just don't go to Kufa because the Kufans are going to turn on you. So he knew this. So he sent his representative, which is Hazrat Muslim, to go and assess the situation and see other people, have they been through enough under Ubaidullah bin Ziyad and Ibn Ziyad, Ziyad ibn Abihi, and these other tyrants, that they learned their lesson. They were like, yeah, we learned our lesson. This time we're going to support you. We know you let your father, but we have you this time. 100% support. So Hazrat Muslim goes house to house and confirms this. And they're like, yes. And they're all there supporting him and backing him 100%. And the wali of Kufa is a weak individual. They say weak, but actually that's inappropriate. He wasn't ruthless, is a better word. He was bad, but not ruthless. So you can buy him with money, but he wasn't going to go completely out of his way. This is Nu'man ibn Bashir al-Ansari. So his father, Bashir, was the first to do bay'ah to Abu Bakr. Not Omar. The first one was, actually Shaitan was the first, he was number 2. But this Bashir, he was the one of the Ansar who broke ranks because they were trying to give the Khilafat to Qais bin Sa'd, I think. Sa'd ibn Abada, yeah. I'm mixing their names. So Sa'd ibn Abada, they wanted to give the bay'at to Sa'd ibn Abada. And then Bashir, who broke ranks and went to Abu Bakr, and that caused the Ansar to break ranks. And then they tried to back out of it. No, let's get Amir al-Mu'minin. Once they realized they were going to lose, they tried to bring Amir al-Mu'minin. It was too late for them. So he was in charge of the Kufa. So he was refusing to take decisive action against Muslim. So Muslim managed to get up a lot of support, and he was leading Salat, and everybody was there. And so then Yazid, he sent for Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. And there's different reports but they had some sort of problem between them, but he was in Basra, and he said, now you have both Basra and you have Kufa. So he went there. And when he came to town, he came riding in with a caravan, and they thought that he was Imam Hussain. So everybody was like greeting him and welcoming him, and he was just riding in quietly, and he had his amama tied over his face so they couldn't see who it is. And then once he got to the masjid, he said, I see a lot of heads who are ready to be picked. I'm Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. And then they all got scared and they all ran away. And he started having his crackdown and finding out who was supporting the Muslim and threatening them and things like that. And so one of the things that someone told me, he said that when Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad started doing all of his psychological warfare and threats and stuff like that, and the people were all like, oh, we don't have the numbers. If one guy was mujahid and just grabbed him and pulled him off the minbar, the whole thing would have fallen apart. Because it was just psychological warfare. He had his entourage, which is like a few 50 people or something like that. Like his little entourage was maybe the size of Imam Hussein's entourage. Some small little group of people. He didn't have an army. There was people who had sympathies there, but he didn't have an army. That if you go to, and there was like 100 people in the masjid, and they had ran up to the member, beat him up, and said, we're making our bayat to Imam Hussain, they would have stopped it right there. But they didn't do that. They started trying to make sure that there's enough people and nothing goes wrong and make it perfect before we take any action. So that gives him time to get established, start threatening people, scaring people. And so Muslim now starts hiding in the houses of different people. One of the houses that he hides inside of is, some of them are saying it's Hani, and some say a different person. But he was in the main thing is he was in one of these people, and this person stopped visiting Ubaidullah bin Ziyad, saying that he was sick. So Ubaidullah said, I'm going to go to you. So he came to the mu'min's house, and they devised a plan, which they said that when he comes to the house, Muslim ibn Aqil will hide in the back with his sword, and then when Ibn Ziyad comes, you jump out and chop his head off. So they said, yeah, okay, this is a plan, muwafaq inshallah. Ubaidullah comes, and then he says like the code word, which I think is like quench my thirst, which also in Arabic also means, they had a saying that when somebody would die, they had a belief that their soul would be saying, quench my thirst, quench my thirst, quench my thirst, until you killed someone of that person's tribe. That was their Jahili belief. Anyone of their tribe, not the person who did it, any random member. But anyway, so he was saying this, but it also means like, give me some water. So he started saying this, and he repeated the code word, Muslim didn't jump. He started saying it again, Muslim didn't jump. And Ubaidullah's like, why does he keep saying, quench my thirst? And so he gets suspicious and he leaves, and he realized that they had planned for him. And then they asked Muslim, why didn't you jump out and kill him? And then Muslim says that because the Prophet said that you don't do warfare with this type of trickery. Because if you invite someone to your house, he's a guest, it's implied that you're also giving him aman. If you wanted to kill him on the way in. You don't wait till he comes in and this, that, and the other, and then now you go and you murder him in your house. And I had some people, they were like, oh, Muslims should have just jumped out and done it, and this would have saved us. It's actually good that Muslim didn't do that. Because then Yazid could say, I sent my messenger in peace, I sent my representative, and all he was supposed to do was negotiate. He was just there to negotiate with Imam Hussain. I sent the most peaceful of the ummah to go and do that. And then you killed him, so now I have to murder Imam Hussain. Because it would have been that it was initiated by the Imam. The killing was initiated. And he was a representative of the Imam, so that would count. It wouldn't count on himself. It would count as the Imam ordered the killing. And the Imam didn't want to start the bloodshed, as we see later in the story. So actually Muslims' action was correct. That no, to try to kill him with some sort of makar or something like that was wrong. So now Ubaydullah bin Ziyad went back, realized the plot, and he captured Hani. And Hani was like a tough person. He was like, yeah, you're going to see like the flashing of the swords from my tribe. They're going to come in, they're going to rescue me. And then him and Ubaydullah was like a wild, out of control person. So he started beating him up. They started fighting. I think Hani tried to grab a weapon, and the guards grabbed him, and he just beat him bloody. And then his tribe heard that they've captured our leader, and they have beat him up. So they went to the castle, and Ubaydullah got scared. He said, no, he's here as a guest. So they said, we're going to send somebody in to go and confirm. I said, okay, we'll send in someone as a guest. They should have realized that he was up to no good when he said that. Because why can't he just come out and talk for himself? So they shouldn't have accepted it. But they wanted an excuse to do something wrong. You can tell this. So he comes inside and he sees him beat up, and he comes back out. He's like, no, he's in great health. You guys need to disperse. So anyway, they come back again, and this time now Muslim ibn Aqil is with them, and he has a huge army, and the Dara Mara is sometimes, some of them are like, it's 50 people in there, it's 100 people, and Muslim has an army. And he starts bribing them and threatening them, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. And he manages to get some of the chiefs to switch sides. Then some of the regular people say, you know what, it's very good, we're here for Muslim, but let's not risk ourselves. Let's let someone else go and do the jihad. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't work, we're safe. Women started coming and pulling their men off the battlefield. Fathers started coming and pulling their sons. Daughters started coming and pulling their fathers. Sisters started coming and pulling their brothers. Say, if you die, what about me? If you die, what about me? If you die, what about me? Until one by one, they pull away the whole army. And then Muslims standing there, sometimes they had 5 people or 10 people, and he leaves the castle, and then his companions start defecting and leaving him. Finally, he's walking. This is just honestly heartbreaking. He's walking in the streets alone. His kids he doesn't know where his children are. And he's only thinking not about himself, but about his imam. I invited my imam into a trap. Walking around, hungry, he hasn't eaten, thirsty, tired, nowhere to go. He doesn't even know the kuches, and he doesn't even know the streets. This isn't his city. And he can't turn this way. Maybe that's one of Ibn Ziyad's men. He can't turn that way. Maybe that's one of Ibn Ziyad's men. Finally, he stops and just sits down at a house, just too tired to keep walking. And then the lady comes and says, "What do you want here, stranger?" He says, "Do you have any water?" So she gives him some water. He drinks the water and he just stays sitting there. And she says, like, go, it's not good for a man to be sitting outside the house of a woman, a stranger to be. He said, "I'm a stranger in this land. I don't have any family here." And she says, "Are you Muslim ibn Aqil?" He said, "Yeah, I'm Muslim ibn Aqil." And so she takes him in the house and she decides to take care of him for a few days to maybe let the steam blow over. And then her son comes and he sees his mother going in and out one of the rooms and he gets suspicious. He says, "What are you doing, mother?" And she says, "Please promise me you're not going to tell anybody, but I have Muslim ibn Aqil. He's in our house. Just, I'm taking a oath from you, a qasam with Allah, that we can't let one of the members of the Prophet's household be abandoned." Her son is like, "Yeah, I promise you, mother." First thing in the morning, he's out to Dara Amara. "I want my reward. I have Muslim ibn Aqil in my house." So Muhammad ibn Ash'ath, the brother of Jod, he goes with the army. Also, he was Shia. He had been Shia. There's a khutbah of Imam Ali where he mentions that you're going to do this. And then he is like, "No, I'm one of your Shia. What are you talking about?" So Muhammad ibn Ash'ath goes with the army to go and capture Muslim. And Muslim comes out and he doesn't want the house of the woman to get destroyed. So rather than fight in the house, which would be safer, he comes out and fights in the streets. And he keeps fighting and fighting and fighting, and they're not able to capture it. And then finally, he gets starting to get tired. And Muhammad is like, "Just put down your sword." No, he says, "You have safety, you have safety." And he was injured in the fighting also. And so finally he said, "Okay, he's like, "You guarantee my safety?" He says, "Yes, I guarantee your safety." So he gets him and he ties up his hand. He takes his sword. He was like, "I thought you had safety." He said, "Inshallah, you have safety." Then he ties up his hands. He said, "I thought I had safety." He said, "Inshallah, you have safety." And they took him to Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. And when he's over there, they begin arguing and things that he decides that he's going to kill Muslim ibn Aqil. And before he dies, he asks Omar ibn Saad to send a letter to Imam Hussain telling him not to come. And then he asks for some water to drink. And when he tries to drink the water, because he's injured, first blood starts pouring in the water from his lips. He throws the water away. Then he gets another cup of water and starts trying to drink it, and his tooth falls out of his mouth and into the water, and so he throws it away. He said, "If Allah had intended for this, then I would get it." So then they took Muslim ibn Aqil up on top of the masjid, and then he says, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah." And they cut off Muslim ibn Aqil's head and they throw him down into the masjid. اللهم اجعل حياتنا حياة محمد وآل محمد ومماتنا ممات محمد وآل محمد وآتنا في الدنيا زيارة محمد وآل محمد وفي الآخرة شفاعة محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على